Yeah. And see, I'm such a nerd that I know exactly what that bike jersey means with the stripes and everything. That's the world championship jersey.
Thank you. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes. And you taunt me with, you're like half naked post bike pictures. What's going on, Bob Cesca? He's all sweaty and he's like, a lot of climbing, and he posts like a shirtless picture of himself.
He weightlifts too. And so I have something in common with him.
I know. You have to come on. You and Kimberly come stay. You'll lift Buicks with him, and then we'll go bike riding, you and me.
Okay. Well, as I said before, after the first 12 miles, it would be bye-bye, Stephanie.
No.
You would be like, just dropping me like a bad habit.
No,
You'd be off.
You said you'd have to rent a bike. I'm like, I have an extra one, but I'm picturing Bob on one of my. He looked like Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah, on a lady bike.
Little tiny bike.
Exactly right. Or just a teeny tiny bike. It'd be like, we'd have to stop by the circus first, and I'd have to do a couple of laps around the.
Bob,
the
just for
ring,
people that have only listened on the radio, how tall are you?
I'm 6'4"
6'4" and
6'4".
And you weigh in at a.
I weigh 230 pounds.
Just so you can get
that'd be a little
visual
Stephanie Miller
picture
bicycle.
Of the giant mountain of a man Bob Cesca
on a lady bike.
And then maybe I'd also borrow a helmet. Yeah, borrow a helmet from you if I want to wear a helmet that looks like a yarmulke.
Yeah.
It'd be a teeny tiny little hat.
I've often described the first time I saw Bob Cesca in person. It was in Hawaii. I was on vacation. Bob was living there at the time. He appeared by a pool looking, he had a Hawaiian shirt. He looked like he ate several Thom Sellecks and just became pure muscle. Became 3 Thom Sellecks made of muscle in a Hawaiian shirt. Aviators. Whatever.
Weird.
Yeah. Oh, he was hot. Hot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he is hot.
Yeah, that's all gone away.
No, it is not. It is not.
Now I'm old timey.
Going in the Hooskow, see?
Just the amount of time you've been with us. All right, Bob. So where do we start this morning? You actually you were talking about Speaker Pelosi led a congressional moment of silence warning that we've passed 600,000 Americans dead. And you just said Trump never did this. I'm certain it never even occurred to him. No, because he'd be afraid he would be rightfully blamed for the amount of,
Right. He didn't want to call any attention to the fact that people were dying from COVID. Just another thing on the long list of horrible trespasses on his behalf. And this was one of the big ones as far as I'm concerned, because, you have, even a mass shooting, something like that, where there's, maybe 5 people who are tragically murdered. Then you have a moment of silence in their memory.
Yeah.
When, at that time, by the time he left office, nearly 500,000 dead, not a single call, not even a suggestion of a moment of silence, because frankly, I don't think it even occurred to him to go there, to even from a political point of view. I don't think it ever fazed him whatsoever, because he's just not wired that way. He doesn't want to call attention to something terrible that he's partly responsible for.
Yeah, Ari Berman had a tough but fair tweet, Bob. He said the GOP traded 600,000 American lives for 234 Trump judges. And that's, I mean, I got to say, people are talking about Jon Stewart. He did it was brilliant satire as it is when he does it on Colbert. He was talking about the fact that it probably was a lab leak, because that's exactly what they were studying, bat coronavirus at the Wuhan lab. I still have no idea how. To me, this makes Trump even more culpable, and I don't see what the difference is if it went from bat to human, either in the wet market or in the lab, right? It's his disastrous response that has put us at 600,000 dead, and it happened on his watch, largely because he pulled our people out of Wuhan and then trusted China on their transparency and how they were handling it.
Right. And the broader issue of where it started, how SARS-CoV-2 first escaped into the world, that's an important conversation to have, only because when it comes to the Wuhan Institute of Virology and anything that may have escaped from that building, when you talk about just what it really amounts to a safety issue, the problem is that all the red hats automatically go from, a safety issue at a lab to deliberate bioweapon sent to us from China. I mean, that's what Donald Trump said for all last year, that the coronavirus was sent to us.
Yeah, part of their brilliant
China.
plan was to kill a whole bunch of their own people first.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's why, I mean, that's why it's hard to talk about the Wuhan lab theory. And it's very unlikely. Fact checkers have repeatedly said that while it could have happened that way, it's very unlikely that it came from the lab itself. It probably came from the wet market, maybe an intermediary species in there.
I get Jon Stewart as a joke. He was like, there's a big, chocolate river outside Hershey, Pennsylvania. Like, where did it come from? Oh my God. Is it, so I sort of get it. They were studying bat coronavirus, but the reason they're studying that is because obviously a lot of these diseases, right? SARS and MERS have jumped species in that area of the world. Right. So that's, of course, why they were studying it. It's not like it was, Anyway, all right.
Usually they put those labs in a place where it's close to the existence of the virus in the first place. So they're not transmitting it over a long geographical area.
Yeah. So let's talk quickly about this DOJ thing. I don't ever know what the line. Isn't it all illegal, Bob? Isn't it all illegal? A House committee is asking former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and several former Justice Department officials to be interviewed about evidence that shows Trump and his allies tried to pressure the department to help him overturn the 2020 election. Carolyn Maloney said these documents show Trump tried to corrupt our nation's chief law enforcement agency in a brazen attempt to overturn the election he lost. Those who aided or witnessed Trump's unlawful actions and answer the committee's questions about this attempted subversion of democracy. At the very least, right? At the very least,
Yeah. Well, this is all in part to completely sideline the Trump-Russia investigation. I mean, this was Swalwell and Schiff, part of the House Intelligence Committee, they were, rightfully pursuing Donald Trump. And this was part of Donald Trump's means of, whether it's plugging leaks or finding compromat on these guys in order to undermine their investigation. This is all in keeping with Donald Trump's, it's interesting. I was trying to determine whether or not Trump just inadvertently stumbled onto, the crimes that Nixon did and then amplified them.
Yeah.
Or whether he was deliberately going back and saying, hey, you know what, let's try that again. It didn't quite work out the first time, but maybe if we do it my way this time, it'll work out just fine.
Yeah.
And no. But I don't know which one of those two things it was, whether he just accidentally stumbled into Nixon-like crimes or if it was like, okay, we're borrowing from that playbook now.
Yeah.
I don't know which one.
Yeah. Well, because you're happy clappy, that's why I love you. I read your tweet yesterday on the air because, again, first of all, I'm getting already frustrated on infrastructure. Like we were talking about how ugly the sausage making is. But, you have Manchin and Sinema on one side saying they may not vote for it, infrastructure. And then you have, who is it, Travis Markey and Merkley saying they won't vote for it all unless all the climate stuff is in it. And, once again, here we go. Look, Biden can't get anything done. And Democrats have got to, I agree we need to go our own way. We're not going to get any Republican help, but but to think that climate, one of our major issues, we can't get done again because of Sinema and Manchin is just infuriating, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It is. And I think it's almost as infuriating because of those two, and of course, because of the Republican shenanigans, the Republican obstructionism, that then all the Democrats end up getting blamed for that. Yeah. And my concern is, yes, okay, sure, we blame Democrats when it's time to blame Democrats.
Yeah.
But I think the stakes of our politics now have made it so that we need to be a little bit more careful in terms of how we do it. Like, it's okay to criticize Democrats as long as we're not sending these messages into the world that, oh, F all the Democrats, they're just useless anyway, so why even bother? Oh, yeah, right. More liberal rending of garments over this thing or that thing.
I said it last week, Bob. Democrats are the only thing standing between us and autocracy. Yes. That's how important 2022 is, the end of our democracy. And you, thank you, that's what I meant about your happy clappy. You said next year, 20 Republican Senate seats will be up for grabs, compared with only 14 Dem seats. Plus, several Republicans are retiring, 0 Dem retirements. Wisconsin and Pennsylvania Republicans are running in states Biden won last year if Democrats bring the energy and hustle boom. And for motivation, you said McConnell's measuring the curtains in the majority leader's office. How about we disabuse him of that assumption by expanding Democratic majorities in 2022? Here. Right?
Yeah, we have certain structural advantages going into this next election. And we had them in 2020. We had a very good map for the Democrats in 2020 on the Senate side, where the Republicans had to defend far more seats than the Democrats did. And we've got a second chance with a similar kind of map this time around. 34 seats up for re-election on the Senate side. 14 of those are Democrats, 20 of them are Republicans. So Republicans have to spend more resources in order to defend all of those seats. And then plus there are the retirements, and we've got, Biden, who's doing very, very well. He won Pennsylvania, he won Wisconsin. Senate seats in both of those states are up for re-election in 22. So these are things, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to come out with a net gain on the majority in the Senate. And you're seeing with, Merkley and infrastructure, with Manchin and Sinema, we're seeing the ramifications of a 50-50 Senate here. That's what when it comes to Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema specifically,
right,
the reason they have the power they have right now is because the Senate is only 50-50.
Yeah.
And so that should give us motivation to say, well, let's fix what happened in 2020. Yes, we got Biden, but we need to get more of a majority in the Senate. We need to focus on those down ballot races.
Right.
And in the midterms, it's all down ballot races. It's all Senate, House, state, local.
The Mitch McConnell thing basically telling us I'm not going to, confirm a Supreme Court justice for a Democrat ever, basically. And you said, he's basically asking for Breyer to step down this year while motivating Democratic voters to turn out bigly in 2022. Either he's an idiot or he knows something we don't. And you say, it's either massive Dem turnout and expanded state and congressional majorities, or it's fascist idiocracy. Is that inspiration enough? It is for me. I mean, thank you.
That should be all we need.
Right.
Yeah. We're on the cusp of horrible, and it only takes one bad move, one wrong election, even you get down to state by state races. It could be one thing here or there, and then suddenly the whole house of cards goes crumbling down.
Yeah.
And we have to be very careful about how we approach our politics right now. And that's not a good position to be in, obviously, because lots of things get steamrolled in that process. But we are where we are. And when it comes to the Supreme Court, Mitch McConnell, I have no idea what Mitch McConnell is thinking. He's basically saying, without saying it, please retire Stephen Breyer so the Democrats can, preserve that seat for another generation. I mean, it's really a dumb thing to do. But we've seen that on several occasions in recent history. Mitch McConnell saying stupid things like, why corporations should butt out of politics or something like that. And then he's got to go back and say, oh, yeah, by the way, I didn't mean that.
Or you're astounded, like him just poking Manchin and Sinema with a stick, basically going there, bipartisanship is over. I'm going to 100% of my energy stopping Joe Biden. It's like he's telling you you're not going to get anything bipartisan done. Why are you saying
exactly
no?
Right.
Okay. So speaking of which, you said, has anyone asked Ben Sasse whether he'd vote to subpoena Barr, Whitaker, Sessions, Trump, etc.? All it takes is one Senate Judiciary Republican to vote with the committee's Democrats to issue subpoenas. Sasse previously voted to convict Trump and voted yes on the 1-6 commission. So do you think we still have a chance to get something that looks like a 9/11 commission?
I think it's possible. I mean, that was more in the context of subpoenas for the DOJ investigation with regard to the spying on Congress.
Correct. But he also voted for the 1-6. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and Ben Sasse could be the swing vote in the Senate Judiciary Committee. As we know, Jerry Nadler in the House Judiciary Committee has already launched investigations about the DOJ thing. And now it's just, I think it would be good if the Senate also did it. But with this power sharing agreement from the beginning of the term, the committees are 50-50, which means there's no Democratic majority in order to be able to vote on subpoenas or successfully vote on subpoenas. So they're going to need someone like Ben Sasse, who's sitting on the Senate Judiciary Committee. And it's possible that he could vote with the Democrats on something like subpoenas. He's not necessarily saying Trump or Barr or Whitaker or Sessions are guilty by doing that. He's just saying, look, we want to be able to get them in here without obstruction.
I could be such a time saver in the Senate. I just guilty. Okay. Bob, before you go, nerd, superhero nerd, you wrote a piece, Why is Batman Trending? The answer's not safe for work.
He didn't write that.
No, you didn't write this. I'm sorry, but you did bring to our attention that apparently there was a new series where they were unable to get away with an oral sex scene between Batman and Catwoman. And there was a moment where Batman was on Catwoman and DC was like, no, you can't do that. You absolutely cannot do that. Heroes don't do that. Oh, I beg to do that. I think heroes do that a lot.
Yeah. But you know what? They shouldn't be necessarily heroes for it. It should be commonplace for straight men to do that for their partners.
Well,
I mean, it seems.
If it was the other way around, they'd probably be okay with it. But because he was pleasuring her, I just can't.
Right.
I can't even imagine Kimberly Johnson's angry vagenda of Manicide this morning over this whole thing.
Yeah. Well, our refrigerator is a happy place, I assure you.
I told hashtag Bob Cesca would.
Yeah, there you go.
Bob Cesca does.
Batman and Catwoman aren't real.
Listen, I just invited you and Kimberly to come stay so we can bike ride and whatever. I swear nothing weird. I won't. There's a lock on the extra bedroom door. It's fine. I won't.
I'm fascinated by the segue from Batman and that. I don't know exactly how to talk about it on the radios and then into staying at your place.
Okay.
Yeah, right?